Hi. In this second portion of our video series, I would like to show you how you can install this on a Libre 2, as well as some of the more advanced functionality that is possible using the plugin. As usual, we're going to start by turning on the Wi-Fi so that I can transfer the files here, but if you're using a cable connection, you should use, well, whichever browser you're familiar with. Right, so we're gonna turn that on. The SSH server is on, that's good. And now let's go to our FTP browser. Okay, as usual, if your installation path is under .ads KOReader, please use that one. In my case, my installation path is different, and it's right here. I'm going to use the same download I did in the previous portion, and just put it under plugins as we did before. All right, once the transfer is complete, I'm going to go back and reboot or restart KOReader here. Get into the network tab, see Bluetooth, go under Diagnostics and inspect if everything is correct. I see that the event map has no configuration here, so I'm going to click on Correct Automatically, and that should be fine now. So I'm going to go into Diagnostics again. I don't have Bluetooth Save Device, which is the first thing that I'm going to do. In this example, I'm going to use an 8BitDo here, 8BitDo Micro. So I'm going to put that into, in order to do that, you're going to press on the heart shape here once and make sure that the sender is on keyboard mode. And once it's in keyboard, go ahead and keep that button pressed until you see the rapid blinking blue light here. So now that it's in pairing mode, it's actually going to stay that way for a while. I'm going to go back into my device management. Well, no, before I do that, I'm going to turn my Bluetooth on. And then I'm going to go into Network, Bluetooth, Device Management. I'm going to start to scan. And this should really be detected now. So if I go to my Device Management, select from Scanned Devices, I should see, yes, there we go. I see my micro here. I recognize the MAC address from before, so that should be good. Let's go back into no Bluetooth, device management, and now hit connect. Now this blinking should cease. There we go. I have established my Bluetooth connection. Now this means from now on, every time I do one of these quicker operation setup instructions, it's going to try and connect to this device. It will remember that it has a pairing with this device from this point on. If I go in, there we go. I see everything here. That's good. Diagnostics is all good. So now I should really be set up. I'm going to turn my Bluetooth off just to pages there. And I'm going to give it a reboot just so that I'm starting from a clean slate. And I'm going to do that same thing. Usually with 8BitDos, I don't know why, but it always has to be put into pairing mode, and then the instructions will work. I'm not sure why that's the case, but that's my experience. If you know any reason I can prevent that, please let me know. But anyway, I'm going to go into network, Bluetooth, and full setup. I also have it, as a gesture from the bottom left corner, swipe right. But I'm just going to use the menu for the time being. And let's go through the setup instructions. Okay. So now my 8-bit do is all set up. Now, the way this plugin works is if you don't have any events mapped, and by events I mean like what any of these buttons will do. If you don't have that configured, it's going to use the default mapping, and usually the default mapping, because I'm the developer, is going to be what I am using. Just before I start showing you what is possible with this mapping, I should show you what my 8-bit do micro is set up like. Feel free to stop or pause the video here and take a snapshot of this. But this is how I have configured my micro so that I can map all of these events. So if you have this mapping right here, and you have used the default event maps, because you use diagnostic quick corrections, you will have the exact same mapping as I do have. And let's go through the available options here. So the first thing that I would like to show you is this star shape right here is going to turn on and off the status right here. I believe this is called the alt bar, and by pressing this on and off, you will be able to turn this. On the right hand side, the A button right here, this one, is our next page button. This is because I usually like to hold my controller like this, and the A just fits naturally right where I want it for the next page. And at the opposite side of this A, there's Y. Y is the previous page right now. Well, you know what, I should bookmark there, and then use the X and B. X and B are my next and previous chapter controllers. These are available as navigational features in this plugin. Now we have the arrow keys. Arrow keys are intended to be used with bookmarks. If you hold it like this, what you'll see is that the arrow pointing to the right, which is usually the bottom arrow, is for toggling the bookmarks right here. So if I do, I'm sorry, it is to go to the latest set bookmark. So if you see right here, this is the this page is set as the bookmarked. If I go a few pages further and press that, I'm going to go back to the latest set bookmark. In order to set the bookmarks, you can use this button right here, the one that's pointing upwards in this orientation, and that toggles the bookmarks up and down. The other buttons that you're seeing here are really intended to go, higher and lower between the previously set bookmarks. If at any time you're lost and you want to go back to the latest place you set the bookmark on, you can, as usual, click this button and then go back to the last bookmark. The small minus and plus on the top are intended to be brightness controls. They increase and decrease the brightness by 10%, as shown here. If you look at these buttons right here, the R and R2, they are intended for the font size controls. So you can press the R button right here. It is going to slowly but surely increase the font size. You can do the R2, start using the font size like this. It really helps if you want to set the reader on at a distance, and you would like to read from, again, well, like 1 or 2 meters away. You don't really know which size you're going to be comfortable with. So what I like to do is set the reader at a certain distance, and then I go to my reading location and then set the font size based on what I'm comfortable with. The last buttons here are the L2. Let's start with that one. The L2 is going to refresh the page. You know how when you go through between chapters or a certain amount of pages, Kobo usually does a full refresh so that the glitches, the artifacts on the screen are cleaned. I usually like to disable that completely and just put a button right here for me to manually trigger that. The heart shape here, this is mapped to turning Bluetooth off and actually making the device go to sleep. So if I press that, well, not in this menu, but in the next menu, it will turn off Bluetooth and then put the device to sleep. This is if you're just doing reading from a distance and you just want to put the device to sleep. If you press that button, it's going to turn off Bluetooth. And remember to always turn off Bluetooth because the device or the plugin is not going to do it for you. The Bluetooth is absolutely brutal on your battery life. So if you're not using it, I highly recommend that you turn it off. And this button right here is going to turn the Bluetooth off and actually put the device to sleep. That's actually all the buttons on the first bank. I'm going to get into how you can set up banks, but because I have way more functionality than I like than are available, number of buttons here, what I have created is a bank system. So all these buttons that I have talked about here, these are actually just bank one of what I have available in this row. So if I orient it this way, you see the L shape here, the L button here. The L button is actually my button for next bank. So if I press on this, you will see that nothing actually has happened on the Kobo device. What I have just done is swap all the buttons to work for their secondary responsibilities. So all of the buttons are now going to be doing their bank 2 responsibilities. So if I go and press some of these buttons, you will actually see a different result. So here's what I mean. What used to be the previous page button, the button Y, is now dark and light mode selection. Used to be the or B button right here is the rotation control. The plus and minus buttons at right here, they are now the warmth setting of the Kobo. You may not be able to see it clearly, but I'm looking at the warmth level at maximum. I think if I do it this way, can I? No. Yeah, warmth is 10. If I click on that multiple times, I'll show it to you. Warmth is all the way down. In this phase of the controller, the R2 and R are now line height adjustment knobs. So if I decrease the line height, you can see that I can do all sorts of adjustments right here. This is probably too much, so I'm going to increase it back up. All right. And on this page, on this side, you have like what is shown as the up and down arrows. They are actually the font weight adjustments. So as you can tell here, the font is getting light weights here. If I go the other way around, I can make it quite bold. In this mode, in the bank 2, you know how I talked about the heart shape being the turn off Bluetooth and put the device to sleep button? That actually exists in bank 2. I have consciously put that on bank 2 because I don't usually use bank 2 all that often, and I don't want to hit that button by mistake and just have to go through the entire setup again. But now that I'm in bank 2, I can press on the heart, and you can see that 8-bit to micro actually turned itself off because it's such a nice feature. If this device loses Bluetooth connectivity, it actually turns itself off. But as you can tell, the Kobo actually put itself to sleep. But before it did that, I think there's a timeout of 3 seconds. The Bluetooth was turned off. So once you use that, the Bluetooth is not going to be left turned on. So I'm going to reconnect. Okay. So if at any time you want to go back to the previous bank, well, there are 2 ways you can do it. In this scheme, the L is always next bank. So even though I was on the bank 2, I can, well, as soon as you restore your connection, the bank that you were on is going to continue being active. So I'm still in bank 2. If I click on L, I'm now in bank 1. If I click on L, I'm now on bank 2. Based on the configuration file, which we're going to talk about in a minute, there can be any number of banks that you want. If you have like a 2-button device, you can have 20 banks and 1 button allocated for next bank and the other button allocated to the actual events. So like in theory, you can have a Bluetooth controller with 2 buttons only that can do 20 operations for you. It's pretty configurable that way. But if at any time that you're lost as to which bank you're on, the way this current default map is set up is that the star icon, you know how in bank 1 it was toggling the alt bar, on and off. It's actually previous page. So if you have forgotten which bank you're on and you want to go back to bank 1, where it's safe, you can just spam star multiple times. And if you're in bank 2, it's going to go back to bank 1. And if you're in bank 1, it's just going to toggle off on and off the status. So my way of ensuring that I'm on bank 1 is just spamming this a bunch of times. And now I'm on bank 1. And now I can do bank 2 again, and then do my adjustments that way. Okay, so let's talk about how the bank system is configured. like I said, if you have your micro or any other Bluetooth device, the first thing you have to understand is which events are being thrown from your controller. In 8-bit micro or any other device that they sell, they have a mobile application that allows you to actually map the events, which is just pretty nice. In my case, these are the events that I have mapped on my machine. And if I turn on or launch my baxconfig.txt file, let me actually show it to you this way. So remember how this is your plugin installation folder. There's bank_config.txt file. This is a configuration file that you should use if you're using banks. If you double click on that, there's going to be a text file that gets opened. And let's not do it that way. And it's going to look like this. This structure is something you can follow. You have bank 1, bank 2, and under every bank, you're supposed to put in which actions are triggering which event on your machine. So in this case, if you look at bank 1, what you see is in bank 1, BT action 1 event triggers BT next remote bank. What comes after the comma is intended to be a comment. This has no bearing on the workings of the plugin. This is just for you to remember which key we're talking about. So in this instance, it tells me that BT action 1 is triggered by the key press of L. Or if I go into my micro here, L is where? There we go, L2, yeah. L2, which is this button right here, does BT action 1, which is actually in the device. We're going to get there. But if I press on that, get BT remote next bank on bank 1. And in bank 2, I get the same. I can add as many banks I want and put as many buttons I want, so long as they're supported and they're actually being triggered by my Bluetooth controller. Feel free to edit this. The banks are not a mandatory feature of this plugin. If you have just one button on your controller, you can delete all the action triggers and just put the commands that you're interested in directly. Here's what I mean. Let's go back to our device again. So if I go to my network, Bluetooth, event map editor, you will see all the items that are mapped here. Now, this mapping is a Linux event to custom Bluetooth event mapping right here. This 19 is pretty sure it corresponds to the L, and is how I say, okay, when I press on L, correspond to 19, trigger BT action 1, and BT action 1 goes here. That says BT action 1 in bank 1 means next bank. I go and click on anything else, they usually trigger the actions. The actions are intended to be used in junction with bank system. If you don't want banks, you can map the events directly to functions that you want. In this case, 115 BTLeft is connected directly to the left symbol directly. And that's something you can do. If you know which function you want, if you have a controller that is just one button like this, then there is really no reason for you to have any banks. So you can absolutely go ahead and delete all the mappings here by clicking on delete and then just adding one event by going here, going to the last action, add new mapping, put the input. Again, this is Linux event type. Unfortunately, this is up to you to find which input you want, and you want to put that in as a number. Put some number here. In the next page, these are all the available functions in the plugin. If you're using banks, you can use the actions. If you're not using banks, you can just map the function directly to as you want, and that's going to work in the more simplified version. But for the time being, that's pretty much it. So I hope you like it. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to post them under the MobileRead forums or under this video. Have a good day.